King and B, two teenagers, were engrossed in comics at the youth center, lively discussing their favorite panels. King is a troubled teenager with uncontrollable rage. His anger manifests in destructive ways and always plays with his punching bag at home. He always demands money from his single mother and will threaten her if she refuses. He will also lashes out violently against friends who disagreed with him. The youth center housed other troubled youths. Two of King's friends, G and Dan, entered the room and saw others playing table tennis. Upon hearing them discuss their skills, one youth became angry and hit G with his table tennis racket. G attempted to confront him, but the youth demanded they leave. G apologized as he and Dan exited. Exiting the room, G and Dan found King assaulting B. They intervened, and what G doesn't know was that their friendship will soon become G's worst nightmare. Both B and King, noticing G's distress, learned of his earlier altercation. King, eager to help, insisted on confronting the other youths. B cautioned him, suggesting G's account might be unreliable. They returned to the room with King and B, seeking revenge for G. King finally heard the full story and felt a pang of embarrassment. As they are leaving, the other youths calling them cowards, provoking King into a fight. A youth center staff member intervened. King lied to her, claiming the youth had fell down himself, then secretly whispered his block number and nickname before the youths ran out of the room. G thanked King, assuring him he hadn't followed the wrong person, even playfully slapping himself. King approached B, who warned that G might get himself into trouble. King clarified he wasn't helping G, merely showing off his punches. The scene shifted to G's house. Upon his late return, his father lectured him, announcing a visit to his stepmother at the hospital and instructing G to supervise his brother's homework, forbidding television. Before leaving, G retorted, revealing his dislike for his stepmother. His father blamed G, insisting their stepmother treated them like her sons. Ji Wei, another troubled youth, works as a recycling worker and is known for bullying and extorting money around the neighborhood. His victims are often one of his milder-mannered, intellectually challenged colleagues. Ji Wei's younger brother, Pork Chop, and his friends owed money to a gang and couldn't repay it. Ji Wei, alerted to the situation, arrived with a spade, intending to rescue them. However, the spade broke during his attempt at heroism. Ji Wei then bravely sacrificed himself, urging the others to flee while he faced the gang alone. He and the gang members were subsequently arrested and taken to the police station, while his parents and the youths waited outside. Pork Chop asked if his friends could join his gang, and Ji Wei agreed. Ji Wei, much like King, is also a violent individual. At home, he frequently argues with his parents and occasionally resorts to violence against them. Ji Wei frequently breaks into his colleague's house to spend the night and often steals his money. The man's money had also caught his attention. He asked the man to shut the curtain as the lights are blinding his eyes. He opened up the curtain soon after he realized that something's not right. He takes his pants with him after that, then put them under his head as a pillow and went to sleep. Ji Wei may have already taken the money before the pants were retrieved. The next day, Ji Wei meet up with friends, his brother, and 3 female classmates eager to join his gang. He used the stolen money to treat them to food, drinks, and cigarettes. Later, the man came up and confronted Ji Wei about the missing money, explaining it was for electricity and other expenses for that month. Showing no remorse, Ji Wei brushed him off. When the man persisted, Ji Wei resorted to threats, causing the man to flee. Ji Wei's friends were impressed by his actions. He and his group then encountered B and King, exchanging greetings. Later, B and King reached an apartment, playing ball with 2 children. B accidentally kicked the ball onto a local gang leader. The children immediately pointed at B. B admitted his mistake and apologized. The gang leader's men emerged into the hallway. He demanded King's name. King initially gave his nickname, but he asked for his real name. A frightened King revealed it, only to be humiliated. King apologized profusely, and the gang ultimately let him go. B later suggested King to recruit more members to build a powerful gang. B and King, with some of their gang members, went to the basketball court looking for Ji Wei, who was playing with his gangs. They confronted Ji Wei about bullying Ji earlier. B issued an ultimatum: join them or leave. Ji Wei refused, claiming his own group was superior. A fight erupted and King's gang won, and Ji Wei's friends subsequently joined King, followed shortly by Ji Wei himself. King welcomed Ji Wei, concerned about his injuries. The newly expanded gang then attacked the leader who had previously humiliated King and B. Later, they celebrated their victory and growth at the youth center. Their boisterous celebration attracted the attention of the staff, who warned them that the center wasn't for gang activity and threatened to call the police if they didn't leave. The gang dispersed. Ji Wei, having pilfered his man's spare key, led the group to the man's house. The man returned home, asking if they were having a party, but doesn't dare to chase them out or call the police. Ji Wei, however, told him that they were holding a meeting and demanded beer and cigarettes. The man obliged. Before leaving, Ji Wei slyly asked for 3 sets of keys. Ji followed the man out, telling the group that he was going to help him carry those items. He then told the man, expressing his disapproval of the group's behavior, a small act of kindness that eased the man's distress. Back at the house, the group resumed their meeting, their focus shifting to acquiring money. Ji Wei was the only member with a job, a fact that highlighted their desperate situation. King, ever the mastermind, proposed robbing the shop beneath their apartment, claiming the shopkeeper was an easy target. The group readily agreed. The next day, King and 1 youth entered the shop, while the 2 girls casually strolled past. Ji Wei positioned himself in front, setting the stage for a carefully orchestrated assault. The youth with King alerted the shopkeeper to a fight outside, but the shopkeeper, accustomed to such disturbances, initially dismissed it. He attempted to call the police, but the youth intimidated him, warning of potential gang retaliation. The shopkeeper relented. King pretended to intervene, shouting at the gang to move the fight elsewhere, and he kicked Ji Wei out of a sudden to make it more realistic. The shopkeeper then rushed out of the shop. King and the youth seized the opportunity to steal valuables from the shop. 1 girl spotted 2 patrolling police officers and alerted the others. The girls strategically blocked the officers' path, providing a crucial delay for their fleeing accomplices. The youth scattered at the officers' approach, leaving King and another youth trapped inside. The duo were apprehended when they attempted to flee with the cash register. The duo took the blame and the officer scolded them for their stupidity, as the shopkeeper had claimed that they have 7 or 8 accomplices. They were released after taking down their statement. Later, they went back to the man's house to play mahjong. The man secretly gave Ji a game console and urged Ji to leave the gang. Ji Wei saw this and suspected Ji was a traitor. Ji Wei suggested buying drinks. He then set the couch on fire after everyone had left the house, closed the door, leaving the man inside alone. Ji was angered by his action, and King demanded entry as it was their only base. They rushed in and put out the fire. King told Ji Wei to think before acting. Then Ji Wei repeated the advice to the man. They came to the youth center as usual. One of them accidentally splashed beer onto Ji. Ji sent greetings to the youth mother and nearly sparked a fight. King ordered an apology from the youth and he complied. He later demanded punishment for Ji. When Ji refused, King threatened him, forcing him to remove his pants, be mounted like a horse, and receive repeated slipper slaps. Staff arrived and they stopped the assault. Ji claimed they were just playing, but the staff was skeptical, urging him to tell the truth. Ji persisted with his lie. B then warned Ji about disrespecting others' mothers. Dan brought food for Ji's brother and picked up clothes for Ji, who was staying at the man's house due to his injuries. Ji Wei's mother and uncle visited the man's house, inquiring about Ji Wei. The man revealed Ji Wei was occupying his house and never attend work. After hearing this, they returned home to play mahjong while waiting for the brothers. When Ji Wei and his brother returned, his martial arts-trained uncle greeted them. Ji Wei was initially overpowered by his uncle but was soon outnumbered by King and his gang. They sought revenge on the man, who was later attacked in his own home. Ji returned to the man's house and was shocked by the scene. King ordered him to close the door. Once the gang left, Ji secretly returned to check on his injuries. The next night, B visited, inquiring about the man's injuries and offering him water. He quickly hid himself when he heard King's voice. At this point, Ji Wei had informed King that Ji had once suggested that the man report them to the police. B urged King to hear the full story first. King approached the man, who was pleading for them to stop the abuse, and asked if it was true. The man hesitated to respond, but when King twisted his arm, he admitted. King warned his gang against being traitors and instructed one member to tell Ji to meet him at the youth center. The gang waited for Ji, but he didn't arrive. They called him again, and Ji apologized, saying he would be there shortly. Instead of going to the youth center, Ji and Dan went to the man's house, believing King and the gang would be at the center. Upon turning on the light, Ji was shocked to find the gang waiting for him inside. He tried to leave, but another member closed the door. B confronted Ji, asking if he really suggested the man to report them to the police. Ji denied it, but B responded by slapping him repeatedly. After Ji fell to the ground, King trapped him under a chair, and the gang began to assault him with a metal pipe, an umbrella, and other items found in the house. Due to the violent nature of the scene, details will not be included. After a few hours of abuse, Ji lay unconscious, covered in blood and bruises. The gang noticed he had fainted and carried him to the bathroom to wash his face in an attempt to wake him up. B suggested to King that Ji had already faced enough punishment. Most gang members left, leaving only King, B, Ji Wei, and Pork Chop. King instructed B to perform CPR on Ji, which he did. Ji Wei prayed to Lord Guan Yu for Ji's recovery. After performing CPR, B told King that Ji had succumbed and suggested calling an ambulance. King, fearful, rejected the idea. He called his gang leader for help but was scolded for interrupting his sleep and hung up. The gang cleaned the scene and stayed with the body throughout the night, while the man witnessed everything. King threatened the man not to say anything to anyone. The gang searched the neighborhood for items to dispose of the body, stealing and buying kerosene to burn the evidence. They placed the body in a stolen cardboard box and transported it to another location, where they poured kerosene on the box and set it on fire. They then went to various garbage centers to dispose of the remaining evidence. The gang continued their lives as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, the man struggled to get to a nearby shop to make phone calls. He remembered how Ji had treated him kindly when his own relatives had turned him away. He called the police and was taken to the hospital. The police had difficulty understanding him due to his unclear speech. However, they were still unaware of Ji's death and the abuse. Initially, they only knew that the man had been beaten by Ji Wei, B, and King. After identifying his attackers, the police started to round up the gang, treating it as a typical assault case. Just as they were about to leave the station for arrests, heavy rain began to pour. The first arrest was B, who confessed his involvement and were asked about Ji Wei. Ji Wei was arrested while he slept, followed by his brother. One of the youths, frightened, sought help from the youth center staff. He confessed that they had killed someone in a cruel manner. The staff advised him to surrender for a lighter sentence, and he agreed. King also turned himself in after his mother urged him to do so. She asked the officer for leniency, but he lectured her, blaming her for their troubles. The officer returned to his office, where B was present. He scolded B, stating that they were the real traitors, not Ji. B admitted to the officer that King was their leader and agreed to be a key witness in exchange for a lighter sentence. This movie is based on a real-life event that shocked Hong Kong in 1997. All 14 youths involved were brought to court and sentenced in 1999, with appeals heard only in 2001, most of which were rejected. King, Ji Wei, and several others received life imprisonment, while B's sentence was reduced to 7 years. The 3 girls were sent to a detention center for 21 months. Ji Wei's freedom ended at 17 years old when he was arrested, and he did not complete his life sentence. He was rumored to have been diagnosed with lung cancer and passed away while incarcerated. The remaining youths involved in the case, including King, were eventually released. It was said that King earned a bachelor's degree during his time in prison and vowed to become a better person after his release. One of the teenage girls involved in the case, Una, lived herself after a breakup and losing her job on Christmas night in 2007.